All right, let's dive into Think and Grow Rich. I mean, this book is like a cornerstone of self-help, right? Today, we're going to unlock some of those secrets and, see how it can apply to all of us.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable how relevant it still is, after all these years. And I think a big part of that is, Hill didn't just come up with this stuff out of thin air. Like this was a direct request, a mission, from Andrew Carnegie himself, the steel magnate.
That's right. Carnegie basically challenged Hill to figure out the success formula, right?
Hmm.
And to do that, Hill interviewed hundreds of these super successful people like Edison and Ford. It took him over 20 years. We're talking deep, deep research here.
Yeah, and you know what's really interesting? The first thing, like the foundation of his whole formula,
Yeah.
is what he calls burning desire. And that's not just like, casually wishing for something. Right? It's like an obsession. It's what drives you to take action.
So think about it like this. What keeps you up at night? Like, what do you really, really crave? That's your burning desire. Hill basically says that if you don't have that fire in your belly, all the other stuff, it doesn't matter as much.
He really believed that
Okay.
everything else flows from that desire. And he uses a great example in the book, the story of Edwin Barnes. Barnes was obsessed with working with Thomas Edison. And I mean, not just for him, but with him.
Yeah, and Barnes, he visualized this partnership so clearly, he actually traveled to Orange, New Jersey with barely enough money for the trip just to get a chance to meet Edison.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He got turned down initially.
Oh, wow. I can't imagine, like, traveling all that way, being rejected. I'd probably just go home.
Right, most people would. But not Barnes. He actually hung around Edison's office, like doing odd jobs, just to be in that environment.
Talk about burning all bridges, right?
He burned them all. But that's what commitment looks like, doesn't it? Barnes's burning desire fueled his persistence. And eventually, it paid off. He got to work directly with Edison, and that just proves how a burning desire can help you overcome any obstacle.
That's an incredible story. It really shows you, we have to be super clear about what we want and just go all in. But burning desire is in everything, right? Hill also talks a lot about faith, but I think, that word can be kind of tricky for some people.
Right, he's not talking about religious faith here. He's talking about, that unshakable belief in yourself and your ability to achieve your goals. It's like deep down, you can succeed even when things look tough.
It's like this, well, it's kind of funny. My uncle, he's a big, intimidating guy, ex-military, the kind of guy I could stare down anyone. One day he got into this little argument with a little girl, like 5 years old at most. And you know what? That little girl, she whipped him.
Whipped him. Like physically. How'd that even happen?
I know, right? She was just so completely convinced that she could take him on, that my uncle, he just froze. Her belief was so strong that it paralyzed him. I mean, obviously she couldn't really hurt him, but, it shows the power of belief, even if it's kind of misplaced, right?
That's a great example.
Mhm.
And it really illustrates Hill's point, doesn't it? Belief is powerful.
Yeah.
And Hill really digs into this idea of autosuggestion, which is basically the idea that you can reprogram your subconscious mind by, repeating affirmations.
So you're saying if you just keep telling yourself, I'm confident, I'm successful, I'm going to achieve my goals, your mind starts to believe it and then, like, helps you make it happen.
Exactly. It's like planting seeds in your mind, right? And those seeds eventually grow into the reality you envision.
Mhm.
Hill actually gives this whole self-confidence formula where you write down these positive statements, memorize them, and repeat them out loud every day with feeling. It sounds simple, but he believed it was powerful, like feeding your mind this constant stream of positive energy.
So we've got the desire, the faith, but something tells me we still need the tools. We need the knowledge to turn that dream into reality. Hill calls this specialized knowledge, but he's not talking about getting a PhD or anything like that.
Right. And knowledge alone isn't power. It's how you use it,
Yeah.
right? The organization, the application of knowledge, turning information into action, that's what makes the difference.
And I think he uses that fantastic example of Henry Ford. Ford had this vision of a V8 engine, but his engineers were like, nope, impossible, never been done before. But Ford, he was stubborn. He refused to take no for an answer. He pushed his team to think outside the box, and guess what? They figured it out.
It's amazing, right? Ford's story is this perfect example of how this pursuit of knowledge combined with this unwavering belief can lead to groundbreaking results. I mean, you may not be building a V8 engine, but what specialized knowledge do you need, to achieve your burning desire? Is it a new skill? Is it understanding a specific market or some kind of software? Whatever it is, identify it, go after it, and learn it.
Absolutely. We're in this world where information is, like, everywhere. But just passively consuming it, it's not enough. We got to be active learners,
Hmm.
constantly seeking out new knowledge and then figuring out, okay, how do I apply this to reach my goals?
Couldn't agree more. Hill was a big believer in lifelong learning, which makes sense, right? Because the world keeps changing. And to stay ahead, we need to keep updating our knowledge and be ready to adapt.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to push yourself, to challenge those assumptions you have, to embrace new ideas.
I love that. Okay, so we've got the desire, the faith, the knowledge, but there's another element that always kind of gets me, the mastermind. I mean, it sounds kind of like, superhero stuff.
Yeah, it does have that kind of superhero ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the mastermind, it's really all about collaboration. Hill believed that nobody truly achieves greatness on their own.
Mm.
We all need that support, the guidance, the inspiration of others to help us reach our full potential.
So it's like that saying, two heads are better than one, but like on steroids?
Exactly. And Hill uses Henry Ford, again, as a great example.
Mm.
Ford was close with some brilliant minds like Edison, Burbank, Firestone, and they weren't just hanging out. It was more like a think tank, this mastermind alliance. They bounced ideas off each other, shared knowledge, and just fueled each other's passions.
So it's like a team of superheroes, each with their own unique power. But how do we create our own mastermind group? Do we need to befriend famous inventors?
Nah, not at all. The mastermind principle, it applies to everyone, no matter what you're aiming for. It's about finding those people who inspire you, who challenge you, who share your aspirations. It could be a formal group, like a business partnership, or just an informal group of mentors and friends. The key is to create that network of support and intellectual stimulation.
So it's about finding your tribe, people who believe in your vision and will back you up on your journey, people who offer different perspectives, share their expertise, and keep you accountable. I like that a lot. But now let's talk about something that might sound a bit out there. Hill talks about the sixth sense. Is this like ESP? Are we going full X-Men here?
Not quite X-Men, but the sixth sense, it's definitely about tapping into a different way of knowing.
Yeah.
Cultivating your intuition, your creative imagination. He really believed that everyone has this faculty, but for most of us, it's dormant, buried under all that logic and reason.
Like that feeling you get when you just know something. You can't really explain why, but your gut tells you it's right. I've definitely had moments where an idea pops into my head and it feels so right, even if it doesn't logically make sense at first.
Exactly. Those are those whispers of your sixth sense. And Hill thought you can strengthen that faculty, becoming more receptive to those intuitive nudges. Think about those geniuses throughout history, the artists, the inventors, the scientists. They all had those moments of sudden inspiration, those flashes of brilliance that just seemed to come from nowhere. That's the sixth sense in action.
So how do we tap into it? Is there some secret handshake or something?
Well, Hill talks about things like meditation, visualization, spending time in nature, anything that quietens that noise of the world and lets that inner voice speak. He also emphasizes having a clear purpose, a burning desire that acts like a magnet for those intuitive insights. When you're really aligned with your goals, your subconscious mind, it's working in the background, connecting the dots, drawing in the inspiration you need.
So it's like you become a beacon for the information and insights that match your vision. Okay, so we've got the desire, the faith, the knowledge, the mastermind, and now the sixth sense. Hill really packs a lot into this book. But there's another concept he explores that can be, well, a bit controversial, the transmutation of sex energy. Now, before anyone gets the wrong idea.
Right, let's be clear. Hill believed that this potent energy, this primal drive, it could be channeled into creative and productive things. He wasn't encouraging anything inappropriate. He was saying, look, this powerful force inside us, it can be harnessed. It can be redirected towards our goals.
So it's about acknowledging that energy, its power, and then, consciously choosing how to direct it. And I think that applies to any strong emotion, not just sexual energy. Think about how you feel when you're passionate about something, when you're in love, or even when you're angry, frustrated. Those are powerful emotions.
Absolutely. It all comes down to how can you channel that energy into something constructive, something that helps you reach those goals. Instead of letting those emotions control you, use them as fuel. Fuel for that creative engine.
Love that analogy. But while harnessing that inner drive is super important, Hill also warns about those inner obstacles that can, really sabotage our success. He calls them the 6 ghosts of fear, and let me tell you, they can be pretty scary if you let them take over.
He's talking about those little voices of doubt, the ones that hold us back from taking risks, the ones that keep us playing small. And these fears, a lot of times they're based on illusions, false beliefs, negative conditioning, stuff we pick up over the years.
He names 6 main fears: poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. Wow, that's a lot to deal with.
It is. But Hill offers a powerful antidote for each one. He encourages us to confront those fears head on, to challenge the beliefs that fuel them, and replace them with more empowering thoughts and actions.
So it's about recognizing that fear is natural. It's part of being human, but it doesn't have to control us. We can choose to face our fears and move forward anyway.
Exactly. Let's break down each of these fears one by one, starting with the fear of poverty. Hill thought this was the most sneaky, most pervasive fear of all. And it's not just about, like, a lack of money, but it's a scarcity mindset, this belief that there's not enough to go around. He argues that this fear comes from, humanity's tendency to compete for resources, to view wealth as this zero-sum game where one person's gain is another person's loss.
It's like that feeling of not enoughness. It can make us anxious about money, even when we're doing okay financially.
Right. And Hill challenges us to shift our perspective from scarcity to abundance, to understand that there's more than enough wealth and resources out there for everyone, to develop a money consciousness, a belief that we can attract wealth and prosperity into our lives.
So it's not about ignoring financial struggles or pretending money doesn't matter. It's about, shifting our mindset from fear to a belief that we can create abundance.
Exactly. And he emphasizes gratitude, appreciating what we already have instead of dwelling on what we lack. Gratitude's a powerful thing. It shifts that energy from lack to abundance, and it opens us up to receive even more blessings.
It's true. When you focus on what you're grateful for, it's harder to feel like you're missing out. It changes everything.
Absolutely. And while a positive mindset is super important, Hill also reminds us to take practical steps to improve our financial literacy. Learn to manage money effectively. Develop a plan to reach your financial goals. It's not just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about taking action, inspired action, to create the financial reality we desire.
Now let's talk about another fear that can just kill creativity, the fear of criticism.
Oh, this one is a killer for sure. Hill points out that most people were terrified of being judged, ridiculed, rejected. And this fear, it stops us from sharing our ideas, from chasing our dreams, from just being ourselves.
It's like we're always worried about what other people will think. And that fear, it can keep us from, putting ourselves out there.
Hill wants us to remember that criticism, a lot of times, it's just a projection of the critic's own insecurities and limitations. It's not necessarily a reflection on us. And he reminds us, not everyone is going to get our vision. And that's okay.
He tells this funny story about a guy about to be hanged. As he's standing on the gallows, some guy in the crowd yells, "Hey, I'll give you $1,000 if you jump off this platform." The guy looks down and says, "I'll give you $1 million if you come up here and take my place."
Ha-ha, classic. And the point is, everyone has their own fears, their own insecurities, and we shouldn't let the opinions of others run our lives or tell us what we're worth. Focus on your path, your purpose. Don't let fear hold you back from those dreams.
Absolutely. You can't please everyone, and trying to will just leave you frustrated and disappointed.
Totally agree. Hill says, develop a thick skin. Criticism's going to come no matter what. Use it as feedback. Don't let it derail you. He reminds us, real success often comes from doing things that others might criticize. Taking risks, challenging the status quo, daring to be different.
Now, a fear that's probably close to home for a lot of us, the fear of ill health.
Yeah, this one's completely understandable, especially with all the information out there about diseases, health risks, all those potential threats to our well-being. It's easy to get caught in that cycle of worry and anxiety about our health.
It's like everywhere you look, there are messages about everything that could go wrong with our bodies. It makes you hyper aware of every little ache, pain, every sniffle.
Hill believed that this fear gets worse because of the way we talk about illness and disease in society. He says, shift your perspective. Don't just fear illness. Focus on health and vitality.
So instead of dwelling on what could go wrong, focus on what you can do to stay healthy and strong.
Exactly. He suggests things like positive affirmations, visualization, and gratitude for your body and its ability to heal. Also, taking proactive steps to care for your health. Things like eating well, exercising, prioritizing rest and relaxation.
So it's about a holistic approach to well-being, taking care of your body, mind, and spirit.
Absolutely. He believed our bodies have this amazing power to heal themselves. And by focusing on health and well-being, we can strengthen our immune system, prevent disease, and live longer, healthier lives.
Now, let's talk about a fear that can be really tough. The fear of loss of love. This one can be heartbreaking because it connects to our need for connection, for belonging, for intimacy.
It's that fear of being alone, abandoned, not being worthy of love. And it shows up in so many ways. Jealousy, possessiveness, staying in unhealthy relationships, even sabotaging good ones out of fear of losing them.
Like we're so afraid of getting hurt that we build walls around our hearts. And that makes it hard for real love to get in.
Hill thought this fear usually comes from a lack of self-love, self-acceptance. When we don't feel worthy of love, we depend on validation from other people, constantly trying to get their approval to fill that void inside.
So it all starts with self-love. That's the foundation for healthy relationships.
Exactly. When we truly love and accept ourselves, we see that we are worthy of love, of belonging, no matter what we achieve, how we look, what other people think.
So important. We got to stop looking for validation from outside sources and start recognizing that inherent worth, the beauty within ourselves.
And he encourages us to choose our partners carefully. Find those relationships that are built on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. Relationships where we can be ourselves and feel safe and supported.
And that brings us to the fear of old age. This one usually has to do with the fear of declining health, vitality, attractiveness. It can also be tied to the fear of poverty, as we get closer to retirement.
Hill really pushed back against those ideas in society that make aging seem like a bad thing. He believed old age can be a time of wisdom, of fulfillment, spiritual growth. He wants us to embrace aging, see it as a natural part of life, and focus on the good stuff that comes with it. Wisdom, experience, the chance to leave a legacy.
I love that perspective. Instead of being scared of getting older, we can look forward to it as a time of deeper understanding, stronger connections, and sharing the wisdom we've gathered over the years.
Absolutely. He suggested staying physically active, doing mentally stimulating activities, and keep learning and growing throughout life.
So it's about staying engaged, nurturing that curiosity, being open to new experiences.
Right. And now we come to the ultimate fear, the one that hangs over so many of us, the fear of death. That fear of the unknown, of what happens after this life. It's probably the most primal fear we have.
Yeah, it's something we all have to face at some point.
Hill knew that death can't be avoided. He said it's just part of the cycle of life.
Like the changing seasons, the ebb and flow of the tides, death is just part of the natural rhythm.
He wanted us to make peace with it, to shift our focus from being afraid of the unknown to celebrating life, to live each day to the fullest.
It's about appreciating how precious life is, savoring each moment and making the most of the time we have.
Exactly. And remember, Hill believed that energy can't be destroyed, only transformed. He believed our consciousness continues in some form after physical death, and that transition, it can be a time of peace and liberation.
That's a comforting thought. So there you have it, Hill's 6 ghosts of fear. He really encourages us to confront them, to challenge the beliefs behind them, and to replace them with thoughts and actions that empower us. He's reminding us that fear is natural, it's human, but it doesn't have to be in control. And by understanding those fears, by learning how to deal with them in a healthy way, we can break free from, that fear-based thinking. And that lets us live more fulfilling lives, more joyful lives, successful lives even. It's like Hill's giving us this whole toolkit for, conquering those inner demons and stepping into our power.
He is. And it's good to remember, courage, it's not about not having fear. It's about being willing to act, even though you're afraid. When we face our fears, when we take action, even with those doubts, we build resilience, we build confidence, we create a life that really lines up with, our deepest desires or aspirations.
It's not about being fearless. It's about, learning to dance with fear, acknowledging it's there, but not letting it stop us. That's powerful stuff. But there's one more piece of Think and Grow Rich that we got to talk about. And to me, it's the most inspiring part of his whole philosophy. Hill says, real success, lasting success, it's not just about money or fame. It's about, doing things that have a higher purpose, a mission that serves something bigger than just ourselves.
He really gets at something deep there.
Yeah.
It's about realizing that we're all part of something bigger, that our lives have this meaning, a purpose, beyond just what we want for ourselves.
So it's not just about what we get, it's about what we give, making a contribution to the world, leaving a positive impact, creating a legacy that lasts, beyond our own lifetimes.
Absolutely. Hill's idea of true wealth, it includes financial abundance, sure, but also spiritual fulfillment, strong relationships, and feeling like you're contributing to the world. He saw success as a holistic thing, It's about developing character, expanding your mind, using your talents and resources to make a positive impact.
It's about living a life of purpose, of meaning, not just chasing, material things or trying to get other people to validate us.
He even says, chasing wealth without a higher purpose.
Yeah.
It's empty. It won't fulfill you. It's like chasing a mirage. Looks good from far away, but disappears when you get close.
It's like you have everything you thought you wanted, but you still feel empty, like something's missing.
Exactly. Hill believed that when we do things to help others, when our actions have that bigger purpose, we tap into a different kind of energy, a different kind of motivation. It goes beyond what we want for ourselves. It's like we're connected to a bigger current, a force that helps us move forward.
It's about finding your why, that thing that gives your life meaning, gives it direction. It's what gets you out of bed in the morning, even when it's tough, because you know you're working towards something bigger.
Exactly. And when we have that purpose, that thing that's bigger than us, we're more likely to keep going when things are tough, to get over obstacles, and achieve that lasting success that feels good and helps the world.
So how do we find that higher purpose, that mission that lights us up inside? Is there a formula for that too?
Hill thought that our purpose, it often shows up in our passions, our interests, the things that bring us joy. He said, explore those talents, Figure out the problems that you're uniquely suited to solve. Find ways to use your gifts to make a positive impact.
It's about, connecting with your core values, the principles that guide your beliefs, your actions, and then how do you translate those into concrete actions that help other people? So maybe it's about asking yourself, what am I good at? What do I love doing? And how can I use those things to make a difference?
Exactly. Maybe means starting a business that creates jobs, supporting a cause that's close to your heart, volunteering your time, your skills, or maybe it's just being a kind, compassionate person in your everyday life.
It's about realizing that we all have something to offer, even small acts of kindness, they can make a difference.
Hill believed everyone has the potential to make a difference. We all have those unique gifts and talents. And he challenged us to find our purpose, to step into our greatness, to use our lives to create a legacy that goes beyond, just our personal achievements.
And that, my friend, is the heart of Think and Grow Rich. It's not just about making money, it's a guide to living a life full of purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. It reminds us that we have the power to create the reality we want, to overcome our limitations, to achieve those big dreams.
It's a call to action. It's an invitation to tap into our full potential and use our lives to create something truly amazing.
As we wrap up this deep dive, think about how you can use these principles in your own life. What's that burning desire? What are you willing to commit to? Who are the people you can connect with to build your own mastermind? What are those fears holding you back, and how can you conquer them? And most importantly, what's your purpose? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Take some time to really think about those questions. Write down your thoughts, your insights. Make a plan to put these principles into action. Think and Grow Rich. It's not just a book to read, it's a guide for living. It's a journey of self-discovery, personal growth, and contributing to the world.
And it all starts with a single thought, a burning desire that ignites that spark of possibility inside. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it sparked your imagination, ignited your passion, and given you the power to create a life that aligns with your deepest desires and aspirations. Until next time, keep thinking big, keep dreaming bold, and keep that burning desire alive.